are back. The two amigos doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound as good as three amigos, does it?
No.
But it is better. Doesn't matter if it sounds better. It is better. The two amigos in the building. It's me, Ash Wilding, and Mr. Statman Jack from Anfield Analytics. Tonight, we're going to be bringing you an analysis of Thiago. Will he? In fact, not will he. Thiago will make Liverpool tick again. But let's run the intro before we begin. And we are live! Thiago ready to make Liverpool tick again. We've got an analysis ready for you, but we'd like to start the show the same way by asking my co-host how he feels today. Just making sure he feels good, he's comfortable, ready to go. Jack, how are you, Mr. Statman?
Yeah, I'm doing good. It's been a bit weird without no football over the weekend. I didn't know what to do with myself.
It's so boring.
Yeah, it is. So it is boring. I don't know what people do who don't follow football do on weekends.
I tried. I like Formula One, Jack. I tried to watch it. This season has been so pathetic, so poor compared to last season. And I was watching it and I was like, 5 laps in, I just thought, you know what? I can't do this anymore.
No.
Then I tried to watch Serie A and I was like, do you know what? It's not the Premier League. Then the Bundesliga. Do you know what? It's just not the same. I can't bear to watch Sadio Mane in a Bayern Munich kit. So I just want the Premier League back. And I think everybody else does because there's some people joining us in the building. Copites together. Big shout out. Yes, lads. Danny Lake saying the intro do bop. That intro is the best intro. Mike Mendes, by the way, the best in the business at doing beats. Hey, Jack and Hash. How are you both? I don't know why I call myself Hash then. I'm not Hash. I'm Ash. We are very fine. Azan, great to see you back in the building. What's this? That intro got Edwin Diaz walkout vibes. It sure does. It sure does. You should have watched the cricket. Azan, get out the show. I'm not watching cricket. Goodbye. No chance. Not even the 100. Maybe West Indies. I watch them sometimes, but cricket's not for me. It's a bit snoozy, isn't it, Jack? It's not football anyway. So today we're going to bring to you Thiago Alcantara, the stats. Why he's going to be so influential to Liverpool's title-winning chase, because we're going to win the title, I've decided. I'm positive again. Forget top 4. We're going for the title again. But this show has some special things about it. We have things like betting banker. So we have the betting banker on the show. The betting banker is a part where you can place your bet for tomorrow's game, or it may be for another game. It may be a season's betting banker. We don't know, but we will place it at some point during the show. And there's another part to the show, and it is Did You Know? So we've got Did You Know as well on the show. Did You Know is a stat brought to you just specifically for this week. Something that you might not have known, something really exciting. Well, I say really exciting, it's just a stat. I don't know. Jack gets really excited about numbers and stats, but you might not. But it is fun. It's a little game that we like to play. But let's get into it then. Statistically speaking, Thiago will make us tick again. Before we touch on Thiago, Jack, let's take a look at the last match, the dashboard for the last game, because it's one to forget. That Napoli game is definitely a game that we all want to forget, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else you can really say about it. Even Klopp said it himself. It's the worst performance he's seen under his reign at Liverpool. It was just from the minute go. It was just terrible.
So terrible. Like, I thought things... Do you know when you watch a game, like I was watching Everton, I watched the Newcastle, and I was like, this is bad. This is bad. And then I said, and I did predict that Napoli had the tools to embarrass us. and we watched it, and they embarrassed us. There was a point in the game where I thought, I didn't even think we could get this bad. We were so poor. I'm not going to call any names out. Joe Gomez. I'm not going to mention anyone. Trent. I won't. I don't do that. I don't call players out. But we were very poor in certain areas. But Mr. James the Brain is joining us from the comfort of wherever he is. I don't know why he's not on the show. He just does this all the time. He doesn't turn up and then gets in the comments. He's a strange one, but it's the worst performance he's ever seen under Klopp, says James the Brain. And Danny Lake is just excited about getting into Thiago Alcantara. I can't wait to get him back in this. I'm so excited. Do you know what? It's like when we got Carvalho, when you saw him in the lineup with Harvey Elliott, and then we had Diaz, we had Nunes, Costas. That was the Everton game. The Everton game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I was so excited. We did this stat show before that, and the lineup was announced, wasn't it? And we were all really excited. That's how excited I feel now about Thiago coming back in, because we've missed his class, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice having it on paper, Carvalho and Elliott in that midfield, but you need that stability defensively, and that's what Thiago gives you.
Thiago does give you that, and we're going to highlight that a little bit later in the show. But first, let's take a look at last match. Napoli 4. Oh, my goodness. Oh, no, Napoli 4. Wow, that is painful reading. And Liverpool 1 goal. Lucky to get the 1, to be honest, but we did get 1. Lucky to concede 4 as well, if we're being honest, but it was 4-1 on the night. I want to start things off by taking a look at the possession. We're still dominating possession. I say dominating, 60-40, but we're still having the lion's share of possession. Is this something that we need to be able to address? Do you think Thiago coming back into the side, he's the master of knowing when to speed play up, knowing when to slow play down? That's the key to having possession, just like Man City do, isn't it? Where you can 1 minute be controlling the game, making the team run around, and then the next minute you've got the cutting edge. Liverpool are just lacking that cutting edge at the minute with the possession they've got.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think when we bought Thiago, I think Klopp could see that teams were setting up like that against us to sit back, and that's what Thiago came in for, was to break them down and set that tempo. So not having him in the team over the past few weeks, we've seen what can happen. We've got no creativity. If you stop Trent, you stop all creativity in our team.
How embarrassing is that? Stop our right back, by the way. Not our centre forward, not our attacking midfielders, not our wingers. No. Stop our right back, and we don't create anything. This is where we need to change, and we are going to pinpoint how we could potentially change that as well in today's game. As I'm saying, this is the game we have to win at all costs. Having the loss against Napoli, being at Anfield, we do need to win this next game. I would love to see Klopp resting players, or not even resting players, because quite frankly, I don't care if they get a rest or not, because they don't deserve it. But I want to see him drop players. But this isn't really the game to do it, is it? Ajax, Champions League, could be tough opposition. We want the win, and we kind of need the win to try and get our campaign back on track, Jack.
Yeah, I mean, Ajax have won all 6 games in the league this season. So,
Jack, no! He's bringing the stats
I know. So we can't really drop anyone. I know Robbo's injured, but I mean, who's going to come in? We've got an injured squad. Who are you actually going to replace? That's the issue.
That's the point. I was thinking then, like, we'll swap. Oh yeah, there's no one. There's literally nobody to come in.
No.
Salah's laughing because Salah knows he's not under threat whatsoever. Even though my lineup has got Elliott on the right wing, I want to see what Arthur and Thiago can do in midfield. I feel like Champions League is the best stage for those type of players. But we're not going to drop Mo. So it's pointless even trying to think about these things because Mo's not going to be dropped. The only player who I think could potentially be punished for the performances, it's one of two. Seeing as Costas has to play because Robbo's injured, I think it's either Trent or Gomez. One of those two is going to be out the team for Matip, but it just depends if Gomez is going to play at right back or if Trent's going to play. So I think that's the only change that we're probably going to see. We'll probably see Thiago for Milner as well, because heaven knows Mr. Fred Flintstone needs a rest 100%. But James raises a good point. The last time we lost to Napoli in the group stages, we won it.
Yeah, but we've never won at Napoli.
No, this is true. We've never won at Napoli. Let's hope we beat them at home. It's just not a good season. But I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful we can do something. But let's just pinpoint where we're going wrong. So let's look at the last game again. Forget all these shots on target, pass accuracy. We've been through this before. We pass the backside off teams, but there's no progression. There's no cutting edge. No creativity. Our shot percentage is improving, but how much of those shots are actually clinical, good, gilt-edged chances? We're taking pop shots from different places. Diaz is responsible for so many of those, cutting in from the right-hand side. I want to look at the passing networks because, again, and we're going to highlight this later, Trent is acting as though he's a central midfielder. This is where the problem comes, because that space on the right-hand side is killing us off every game. The left winger, whoever it is, this time it was Kvaratskhelia, who was absolutely phenomenal. Osimhen as well was killing us, ripping us to pieces. But when you look over on the left-hand side, where Napoli's attacks were targeted, and when you look at the expected goals from open play chances, nothing whatsoever down that right-hand side of attack. It's becoming a crutch for us now. Everybody knows now, Jack, that Liverpool's right-hand side of defence is just so vulnerable, and we're not doing anything about it. What do you think we need to do? How can we counteract this?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
I mean, you see from that pass network how high Trent is. It's just exposed Gomez so much, which is why he got brought off. I mean, it was his own fault as well. He kept the ball for too long at times, which caused them to get into their own goal. But yeah, Trent's position is way higher than it should be, because he's basically where Elliott is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
It's one of those, isn't it? If we had a defensive-minded right back, you'd go, right, let's see if we can set up defensively. But we don't. If we knew Klopp would be willing to adopt a different system, then maybe we'd see 3 at the back or 5 at the back. That would protect our right-hand side a lot more. But Klopp's either so stubborn or, for want of a better word, stupid, that he can't see that this is a problem and won't change. It's just stubbornness, and everybody else can see it. I'm going to pull up in a minute the tactical dashboard that we've got to highlight this. But if we can see it, why are Klopp and Linders not doing anything about it?
I mean, I think it's just a case of why they train on this every week, week in, week out. They don't want to confuse the players if they do it just for like 3 weeks until players come back from injury. There's no point in changing a system when the players aren't used to it, and then that could potentially be even worse.
Yeah, that's so true. Azan here is saying, would you start Núñez for this game? This is an interesting point, because I've highlighted something. I think Bobby's playing amazing, by the way. Bobby's been one of the star performers this season. The last couple of games, we've seen him maybe getting lost within what everybody else is doing a little bit. But I do think Bobby is head and shoulders above what Núñez has shown us so far this season. A lot of people saying Jota as well. Some people want Jota back in there. We'll see. Jota might be able to do this. But what I want to do is I'm going to pull up here, Jack, the tactical pad. So I'm going to pull up the tactical pad, and we're going to highlight different areas where we struggled. We've seen the match dashboard. We've seen a million of them. We know what Liverpool's problems are, and it's cutting edge. It's that right back position where we're getting caught on the counter too often, and sloppy passes as well, by the way. Very sloppy passes. So let me pull up here the tactical pad. So as you can see, this is how we set up against Napoli. We come out with a 4-3-3. But when you look at the way that we actually played and look at the passing networks in that game, where you see Trent moves forward into this hole here. So as you can see, Trent is there right behind Harvey Elliott. Now, the problem with that, Jack, is what? That space in behind. Because Milner is trying to play this advanced role as well, and he's trying to lead the press up here on the left-hand side, look how vulnerable we are. Is it any wonder that Joe Gomez had such a bad game with that much exposure?
No, exactly. It's what I was saying before. Like, he was literally by himself for that whole first half. Like I said as well, like there were times where Gomez could have just passed it back to Alisson or got rid of it. He kept hold of it for too long.
I think that's Gomez's problem. He tries. I think it's Klopp. I think it is what Klopp instills. He doesn't want wasteful balls. He doesn't just want to lose the ball and kick it out. He wants to try and play out of the press to try and maybe do something, drop a shoulder, and then you're in space, you beat a man. Then we've always got one man up on the rest of the team.
Yeah.
But in certain situations that Gomez was under, when Osimhen he was a beast, by the way. Physically,
he is a very good player.
Like physically, speed, power, skillfully. Varaskelia, by the way, did you see him just brush Gomez off in the penalty box like he was nothing? So Gomez maybe needs to go back to basics, doesn't he, and just start getting rid of the ball and then regrouping.
Yeah, exactly. Klopp, he does say to his players, be brave, and I think that's what that was for Gomez. But yeah, like I said, there's times where you just need to hit it into Rosette.
Yeah, 100%, completely agree. I want to move it forward, though, a little bit, because this highlights a massive problem. It's so easy when you looked at Anguissa, who should not be causing Liverpool trouble. It's not difficult for Anguissa to defend when there's so many people within one space. There's too many people now occupying these roles. Trent's trying to step into midfield. Bobby's coming back into midfield. There's too many within. Look at that small space. We've got 5 players. So we're playing 4-3-3, but effectively that's a 5-man central midfield.
Mm-hmm.
It's never going to work, is it? We need more width.
Exactly. I mean, we've got 5 in there and they had 3. So that's where they just overloaded us on the wings then when attacking. With them being that close to each other, there's no way you can actually create anything because you've got Salah stuck out on the right, and your only outlet really is then Diaz, which is why he's coming in all the time.
Yeah, Diaz is occupying good roles. That's why he's getting more goals, because he's doing what we want Mo to do. He's going from out to win. That's what we want from Mo. But Mo can't do that because Elliott and Trent are occupying these positions.
Yeah,
Bobby's occupying that position as well in a centre-forward role where Mo like to operate. So his only choice now is to either stay central or stay wide. He can't make those runs.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to do next is, if we move it forward and take Bobby off. So Bobby's number 9 in this situation. If we took Bobby off and put Nunes on, so Nunes would be number 27. So imagine number 9 is Nunes, and imagine number 7 is Thiago, number 6. What we can do as Liverpool now, when Thiago comes into this team, I feel like that's when we'll get the best out of Nunes and the best out of Harvey Elliott as well. If we just make a subtle change and move the players to these positions here, we've got Nunes, who's occupying a striker's role. Then look at all this freedom Harvey Elliott's got there. We've got so much more now to work with. Trent can step up into central midfield if he needs to, because he's got space to work with here on the right-hand side. Mo can stay out on the right. Diaz can stay out on the left. The front 3 then, like when Mane was there, can start to interchange. And it's just one subtle change. Thiago in a double pivot with Fabinho and Elliott occupying that number 10, having the space to be free to roam. I think that if the front 3 can communicate properly, this could be the only way we see Klopp adapt this season, Jack.
Yeah, it's what we've said, a 4-2-3-1, isn't it? It's basically what we've been screaming for. And I felt like that's the way we were going to go by getting Nunes in. because he likes to play off the last man.
Yeah.
But with this formation as well, it gives the license for Salah to actually come in as well, because he's got the space then, like Diaz does.
Completely agree. And what's good as well, from a defensive standpoint, if that ball now comes over the back. So, for example, if we get a ball in here over the back, who's there to clean it up? Fabinho can come. And if Fabinho comes into this space, then we've also got the likes of Thiago who can fill in here. If he wanted to, Thiago could fill in there. So we've got so many options now with a double pivot that gives Trent the freedom, gives Robbo a bit more freedom. But also what Thiago does really well is if Harvey Elliott needs a rest, Harvey Elliott can play right central midfield now and drop into this area. And Thiago then can lead the press with everybody else. So there's so many different options, isn't there? That's what we're trying to say. We're not exposed. We can be more creative. We can be a lot more free-flowing up front. And we'd probably get the best out of Harvey Elliott's creativity and Darwin Núñez's in-to-out runs, out-to-in runs, drifting to the left, Diaz coming inside. Everybody's got a bit more freedom.
Yeah, I do agree. But I think also what's probably worth noting is, especially against teams that sit back against us, it probably gives Thiago that bit more space to move up a bit. So then we do turn with 2-8s, don't we? Yeah. I think that's what's happening, really, is that because teams are sitting so far back against us, there's so much space in front that we can just keep pushing up and up, which then...
That's so true.
Yeah, which then that's why Elliott then is then occupying the same space as Arnold.
We can also operate with that box formation. If Bobby is playing in that 9, Bobby can drop and share that space with Elliott because Thiago's that intelligent. He can understand when's the right time to play as an 8, when's the right time to play as a 6. So this is why Thiago, I feel, is the key, because he's got the keys to unlock defensive if he wants to. He's got those defensive attributes that we're going to pull up in a second. He's the perfect missing link, along with, in my opinion, Joel Matip as well, Jack.
I mean, I've said it from the start about Matip. I'm one of his biggest fans. I think what he brings to the team is amazing, because those runs he can do into midfield. I think with those runs, you get a bit more defensive from Fabinho, dropping in that space and giving that cover. So if it does go into the half space in behind Trent, Fabinho's quicker than Matip to cover those spaces.
Yeah, so true. MD's saying, guys, Bobby hasn't been amazing. He's just been fit and available. I don't agree with this. Like, 2 games, he had 5 assists and 2 goals in those games. Or was it 3 goals? 3 goals. 5 assists, 3 goals in 2 games. We can't say that that's not good form. That's top form. Last game we missed Konate. Not going to lie, saying Azan. I think we're all forgetting about Konate. I hope there's a chance that we could see Van Dijk get a rest, because Konate kind of fits that Van Dijk mold a little bit. Konate is the one, in my opinion, and it's crazy because Matip and Gomez have been there longer, but Konate looks the most likely of the defenders to become more of a leader. When you see Van Dijk out the team, when Konate and Matip are playing, it's always Konate that's commanding the line. It's Konate that's the vocal one. So I'm hoping, well, I'm not hoping, I know Konate's got a great future at Liverpool, but who's going to be his partner, I think, is the question, Jack.
Yeah, I mean, Matip's getting on a bit now as well, isn't he? So, and he's always been injury prone as well. So, I mean, so is Gomez, to be fair. So, but Konate is so young as well. And I think last season we had Konate and Gomez play centre-back in the group stage of the Champions League. So it could be that centre-back pairing.
Last season, and this isn't even a did you know, but I'm going to drop a did you know in there. Last season, Konate played every single Champions League game for Liverpool, which is crazy. So that shows how much Klopp trusts him.
Yeah.
That shows that he is capable. Yes, sometimes he does maybe have lapses in concentration. Maybe he tries to jump in and be physical too much. But Klopp's got the trust. He's definitely the future, but it's who's going to partner him. Bogdan's saying, why don't we use under-23 players? Last season, 3 of them made the debuts in the Champions League at the San Siro. Is this something we could see? Bajcetic is a name that everybody's talking about, Jack. Fabinho's also been talked about as not being at his best, looking tired, being beaten so many times on the dribble. Could we potentially see a Bajcetic in there? Or do you think Klopp might be waiting until Henderson's fit so there's a leader alongside him to kind of drag him through the games a little bit and guide him through?
Yeah, I think it's just too early on in the group stage at the moment. At that point in the San Siro, we'd already won the group, I think, when we started playing these players. I think Nat Phillips played at centre-back, didn't he? And did that Cruyff turn.
Yeah.
So
legendary, that was legendary.
Yeah, it was. But I think even Klopp said himself, there's rumours going out saying that they don't want to overexpose Bajcetic too early on as well. So I think it's just protecting the player himself.
It's a hard one to gauge, isn't it? It's either that baptism of fire or nurture, feed him in, drip feed him in. But then why is he willing to throw Harvey Elliott into the fire and then not willing to do it with other people? And people might say, yeah, but Elliott's ready and Bajcetic might not be. Curtis Jones was ready, but he didn't get that baptism of fire that he probably deserved. So again, we're seeing a bit of different things for different people, I think, within the squad. Mm-hmm. But we have got our first betting banker in here. We've got Azan saying, my betting banker, Mo penalty, Diaz getting a goal, and Jota scoring with a header. Wow, he's gone for a triple. So that doesn't say Mo scores, though. That just says Mo gets a penalty. So maybe Mo misses a penalty. I hope he doesn't, because that would literally kill his confidence. But then Diaz a goal, Jota scoring with a header. If Jota plays, I'm not sure Jota's going to even play, to be honest, because Nunes is the fresh fit. He's 65 million. He's going to be preferred over him. If Nunes doesn't start, surely it's Bobby who gets the nod because of his form. And then if you bring in Bobby off, you're not going to bring Jota on instead of Nunes. So will Jota play? That is the question. But the question is, Thiago Alcantara, will we see him? I want to pull up now the best stats board, and it's with and without Thiago. So how Liverpool have performed with and without Thiago, and then we'll finish by pulling up the dashboard of Thiago from the last game so you can see the impact that he had during that game as well. So let's take a look. Here we go. Liverpool FC 21-22 season, last season, average statistics with and without Thiago. First of all, Jack, it's mad. The with Thiago side, so many green boxes, which are the positives, by the way. The greens are he has a better impact with Thiago in the team. The reds are we don't have as good of an impact. That is astounding. Which one of those, Jack, stands out most to you? Which would you like to highlight?
I would probably say what? There's a few, actually. It's probably the PPDA. And now that stands for passes per defensive action. So it's the amount of passes we allow the opposition to have before we make a tackle or interception. It basically measures how well we press.
Yeah.
So the lower the number, the better. With Thiago, we're allowing 8 passes before we make a tackle. And without him, it's 9 passes. Now, with that, that's why teams are getting more shots against us. We can see them more goals. There's more positional attacks, counter attacks. All of that is because of that, I'd say.
That's what's crazy, isn't it? And I think I'll pull this off so we can see our beautiful faces for a second. That's the crazy bit about Thiago, his defensive capabilities. Everybody sees him as this matador who can control the play, like Puss in Boots, I call him. Everybody thinks he has got this, by the way. He's got the swagger, he's got the sauce, he can pass. a 50-yard pass at ease. He can, the striking of a ball back. I've never seen anybody contact a ball as good as Thiago does. You can guarantee execution is on point every single time. He takes the ball exactly how it should be taken. His first touch, the way he can beat a player off one touch, everything is amazing. But what people neglect is how good he has adapted to become a defensive player within this Liverpool system. And again, when we pull that up, Jack has just highlighted to you defensive duels one is higher. The passes is lower for a team when we turn the ball over, so less passes before we win the ball. We've got shots, like taking shots, little things like this that lead Liverpool to becoming on the front foot. It's the defensive actions that put us on the front. I can't say it. The front foot. I was going to say the front foot throat. I don't know why. The front foot. But then also his attacking action, shots on target, the percentage of shots on target, passes, accurate passes. Thiago's got, at Liverpool now, got everything in his game. Absolutely everything, which is why we can adapt our system to play any way we like, because no matter how we play, if it's a double pivot, if it's with two number 8s, even if we had to go Thiago in a 10 at one point, he can adapt to suit that system. This is why it's so difficult, isn't it? When he's injured and he's become injury prone, we miss him so much. Imagine if he was fit every game.
That's the big issue with him, isn't it? He is injury prone, and we knew that when he was coming as well. I think that's why he was so cheap. And we got him for like 25 million. Otherwise, he's worth 50 at least.
Danny Lake's asking you, is that Comic Sans, lads? He's asking
it. It is.
He knows his things. Danny Lake knows his Sanskrit. Good lad, Danny. But what you said is so true. Do you think that when you think about it and look at it and look at the stats that he provides, is Thiago, would Thiago be that Genie Wijnaldum if he was fit every single game? And do you think Genie was actually the key to a lot of Liverpool's success?
Yeah, I think a lot of our midfielders have gone through the time under Klopp anyway, unnoticed, like an unsung hero, because they don't get the assists, they don't get the goals, but they cover for a lot of defensive mistakes or the transition against us, and they cut out a lot of attacks that we could potentially have conceded.
Yeah, it is so true. And we highlight this with the dashboard as well. He only played 32 minutes of the game. To finish first in defensive duels won is mental. The percentage as well, second. Recoveries, fifth. Clearance is second. You should not be up there with the top in the team when you're playing 32 minutes of a 90-plus minute game. This highlights his intensity. But is that the problem when you look at the ground that he's covering? Look at the heat map. He's covering the whole of the midfield. Look at the passing network. He's all over the pitch distributing passes. Where he wins the ball, his defensive actions, he's pressing so high. A lot of those are won in the opposition's half. Is this what might lead to all those injuries he's picking up, especially in terms of hamstrings and the intensity that he's playing at?
Yeah, Joe, I didn't even think of that. That's a very good point. I think it could just be the intensity, and especially coming off the back of last season, playing all games, it's probably added up for him. I think with Arthur coming in as well, I think that'll help if we play both of them, because Arthur actually got the third most number of defensive duels won in that game, and he only played 18 minutes.
See, this is what we highlighted. We did this when we signed Arthur. I'll call him Arthur again. Yeah. I'll let him have that, seeing as I know he got some good stats. He can have the name back. It was Arthur the other day, but he can be Arthur. Arthur is a pressing beast, by the way. He loves pressing, and he's so press resistant as well. So not only does he lead the press, but when other teams press him, he's so good at retaining the ball. And this is what Thiago's good at. This is why I would love to see maybe even those two in a double pivot. with Elliott above them. That could work because the defensive actions of Thiago is so clever. He could play that Fabinho-style role. But imagine a Fabinho with those two, the freedom that the front three would have, that could be something special. What would your ideal, looking at everybody we've got, if everybody's fit now, Jack, what would your starting 11 be?
It would be, it's difficult because of form, but on paper, I'd probably put Fabinho, Thiago, and Henderson. I know that I've been looking at Trent's stats of like when he's been getting beat and what midfield he had when he's been beat, and only once was that midfield three involved.
Yeah.
And it was a Champions League final last season.
See, that's crazy, isn't it? Do you think this goes back to that age-old thing? Henderson gets so much criticism for what he actually brings to the team.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Jack is the stat king, but I love to look at stats as well. The stats show you the evidence is there. Henderson is our most creative midfielder. Henderson contributes to so many goals. Henderson's defensive contribution is so high as well, with interceptions, with tackle percentages. It's like, what do we go with now, isn't it, this season? Because you've got Elliott, who offers that attacking threat. His shot creating actions are more than Henderson's this season, who's been our top shot creator for the last so many years. But then his defensive attributes, Elliott's defensive attributes are very, very poor. Whereas Henderson, he can do the offensive stuff, but he's very secure in a defensive aspect, which proves when we've won so many games when he's played alongside Trent. So is that why you're leaning more towards Henderson? Because we need that balance in a Klopp system.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's what you touched on earlier with the likes of Wijnaldum not being recognised as one of our key players. We're so quick in transition when we defend and spray the ball back out. It goes unnoticed. I feel like it does go unnoticed because we're so quick and so good at it that no one remembers it. But it happens so often.
Everybody sees the getting beaten. Everybody sees the missed interceptions because it exposes you. Everybody sees the balls over the top. And when those balls over the top happen now, the rules are for the touch judge to let play carry on. If play was stopped immediately, you would be lauding Liverpool's defence because that line is very good. It's still very good for catching players offside. But the only problem is now we play on so much that it's starting to make Trent look a bit more exposed. It's starting to make Gomez look a little bit more worried in a defensive state. If that whistle went, no one would bat an eyelid because that's what happened 2 years ago. Trent was still doing the same things then, but now plays carrying on and there's a potential maybe there's not an offside, so they've got to play on. So what you're saying is so true. We only see the mistakes. We don't see those when Trent does intercept it and start play off. When Elliott does lead the press and the ball's turned over because there's pressure on a defender. But most people don't care, do they? Most people
no.
The result at the end of the game, whereas we like to see what players actually bring to the team. And Henderson brings that in abundance. So does Thiago. So does Naby Keita.
Yeah. You touched on offsides there, and it just reminded me of something that the way that they do it, where they don't flag.
I was going to place your bet in banker, then I was like, "What's
coming?
No.
The way they flag so late now. Do you think that teams, even though they get through and it's offside, it still builds up their momentum?
Yeah, completely.
Rather than stopping
the crowd gets up, the team think, I've got to weigh in here. I've got to weigh in. And law of averages, if you keep playing that ball over the left-hand side,
you're going to get it right at some point.
You're going to get it right at some point. Whereas if it blew up straight away, they'd be like, right, you've been offside 3 times now. That's not working. But because play is played on, that's a great comment, actually. 100%, I agree with what you're saying. Because teams now, they're just like, keep doing it. Keep doing it. Because one time we're going to be onside. Just keep playing that ball. And we've seen it all season. So that's why Klopp needs to adapt to the rules a little bit. But we're not going to see it. So that's why we've focused on midfield, because that's the only way we can protect Trent and Robbo this season. James the Brain says, the offside rule needs changing. If it's offside, then flag straight away. Players are going to get injured because of it. That's the age-old thing, isn't it? Players carrying on. That's why maybe Van Dijk looks so tired, because how many times have we seen Van Dijk step up? It's clear offside, but they've played on. So Van Dijk's gone, do you know what? I'm going to have to sprint back just in case it's not offside. Then he sprints back. He's absolutely knackered. Then the referee blows. How many times do you see that image of Van Dijk looking at the linesman and throwing his hands up?
Yeah.
Because he knows.
It happens every game.
Yeah. Van Dijk's a very intellectual player. He's very clever at knowing when to step in, knowing when to step up, knowing when to drop off. This is kind of ruining his aura. That's what everybody's talking about. This is why it's making him look more vulnerable, because he's last ditch. And when you're tired, when you've not got much energy, you just start to run back. And that's what we're see with Van Dijk. But we've taken a look at Thiago. We'll let the followers decide their verdict. Will Thiago make us tick again? Is it all down to one man? Or do a lot of people need to step up? I genuinely think, Jack, and I don't know about you, I think that bringing Thiago into the team is going to make the world of difference. I feel like that's been the area where we've really struggled in midfield because of the injuries. And we can't blame injuries, because the personnel that have been in there should have done their job. But Thiago will bring a momentum back to play. He'll bring that defensive security, and we'll see the best, I think, of Nunes and Harvey Elliott with him in the squad.
Yeah, well, I'm going to place my betting banker now.
Oh, he's going for it, ladies and gentlemen. Jack is placing his betting banker.
So, yeah, this is for tomorrow night. Don't know if he's going to start or not, but for any amount of minutes that he's on, I don't think Liverpool will concede while he's on the pitch.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a very good one. So as long as Thiago's on the pitch, there'll be no goals conceded by Liverpool. What was last week's betting banker for you? Did it go right?
I don't remember. No.
Oh, yeah, I bet he remembers when it's right, but doesn't remember when it's not right. I don't even know what mine was. I think I said like Costa's 2 assists or something.
Something like that, yeah.
That didn't go down well. Which leads me on to my betting banker for today. He's got his chance. It might have come at the expense of Andy Robertson, but Costas Tsimikas tomorrow night is going to lead the game in shot-creating actions, crosses into the box, and I wanted to say defensive duels then, but the right-hand side is good. I'm going to go shot-creating actions, crosses into the box, and assists as well. So we'll get the most assists. Oh. That's the 3. I'm going triple threat. I'm going big. Wow. I think he's going to hold on to this place. That's another. That's another betting banker. I think Costas, these next, how many games will we have? Probably 3. We've got Ajax. Chelsea's postponed, by the way. Yeah. Anyone that's watching, that has been announced. It's postponed. So we're looking after the international break.
Yeah, so Robbo might be back.
Then. So this is the game for Costas to hold on to his place. So if he has a work, I'm definitely saying that then, because he's going to come out and he's going to play with a vigor tomorrow night. I genuinely believe we can do a job on Ajax. I'm not that worried about this Ajax team. Yes, they've won 6, but I'm not that worried about them. And Danny Lake says Simi will connect at least once to a shot with every front line player. This is it. He's great with his distribution, his decision making. It was there in the last few games, but the only thing that wasn't was the execution, which is strange for Tsimikas because that's normally there. But the decision making, 100%, is always there. But there's only one thing left to do now on the show. We've done our betting banker. We've looked at Thiago. We've even brought you the dashboard. But there's one thing we haven't done. Did you know? This is the part of the show where we bring you a stat that you might go, wow, I didn't actually know that. I'm using James the Brains today. He sent it to me to use, so I'm going to use James the Brains stat. It's not a bad one. It's not a great one, but it's not a bad one. That's what we've come to learn from James the Brain. It's not bad, not great. Does he want to put it into the show? Don't forget my Did You Know Ash. That's what he's saying. There you go. I've not forgot. I've just done it. Look, I'm doing it now. Bogdan's also got a betting banker. We'll put it up now. We'll show everyone before we do the Did You Know. Betting banker, Costas 2 assists, Diaz goal, Virgil header. Wow. Does that just mean Virgil's going to win a header? Because if it is, that is a very safe betting banker. Virgil will definitely win a header. I think he means headed goal. But James the Brains, I was going to say betting banker. Did you know for this week? James, by the way, we want a betting banker as well in the comments. Don't dodge away from it. James's Did You Know for this week, it is, did you know that Ajax are in an elite group of European royalty? Only 3 teams have won the European Cup back-to-back 3 seasons in a row, and Ajax are one of those teams, along with Real Madrid and Bayern Munich. By the way, Real Madrid went 5 years in a row in the 50s, I think it was.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So Ajax, European royalty, 3 in a row. He kind of left his Did You Know there, so I thought he was going to say, so I think that they're going to beat Liverpool tomorrow and win the first European Cup in so many years. But he didn't. But that's his Did You Know for today. Over to you, Mr. Statman Jack. What is your Did You Know?
This is based on the Napoli game that we've just played. So the minutes leading up to Thiago's substitute, Liverpool had won 48% of their defensive duels. When Thiago came on the pitch, we won 77%.
What?
And the number of defensive duels are pretty much the same, 33 versus 30.
That is crazy. So 48 compared to
77.
This is why we need him. And Liverpool 006, this is just for you. We need him back. Thiago Alcantara. Getting back in this squad. Wow, that's unbelievable. To change a team so much that's playing so poorly, and they came out in the second half and were playing poor as well.
Mm-hmm.
When he came on, that's when the game changed.
Yeah,
Matip contributed to it a little bit. He secured us up defensively. But when Thiago came on, it looked like a different game. Napoli didn't look like scoring. They didn't look like it. And it's easy to say that they will have dropped off the 4-1 up. They're not going to play. But Thiago just brings that class every single time. That's a great stat. Let's have a look what James the Brain, though, is saying. So basically, Jack, James the Brain's been in the comments the whole show but couldn't come on the show. It's interesting, that, isn't it?
Yeah,
well, we're opening up his betting banker. Luis Diaz will hit the post at any
good
point.
one.
That is a good one, that.
That
is a good one. I think that's probably like, I might put a bet on that.
Yeah.
How many times this season has he hit the post?
It feels like the first season we had Luis Suarez.
I was just about to say Suarez was the bar, though. Suarez used to just smash the bar all the time. We've had, as Nunes hit the bar, did Pickford hit it onto the bar?
Yeah.
Like literally post FC at the minute. Forget Liverpool, Liverpool FC. Oh, look at this. I'm sorry that my daughter comes first. Oh. James the Brain, have a minute. But Jack, unbelievable show. We've broken it down for everyone. I've gone blurry again. Look, I'm going to come close so you can see me. There we go. I'm back. Unbelievable show. The stats are in. We'll let the people decide. We broke down the dashboard, the Thiago stats, and with and without. Look at these people. With and without Thiago. The green is the positive. Look at how many positives with Thiago on that left-hand side. Only 5 categories out of, I don't know how many categories there are, Jack, but 5 categories out of at least 20. At least 20 categories.
29.
29 categories.
And even
only
the ones...
5
even the ones
just
that
as
we,
well.
exactly. Even the ones that were better without, it's very close.
Possessions even.
Yeah.
The positional
So
attacks,
attacks.
0.2, which is nothing. 2% on shots against. Like, wow.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Thiago, the verdict is he will make Liverpool tick again. I guarantee it. But a big thank you to everybody that's been in the comments. Bogdan, Mr. James the Brain, Danny Lake has been in the LFC, JLFC. Azan was in the show as well. MD. So many of you in the show. But as always, Jack, we end the show by saying, come on, you Reds. You'll never walk alone. Peace.